So, just yesterday, Saturday, July 25th, down in Louisville, the NFAC marched down in a big group in a militia to, I'm not going to say protest because they don't call themselves protesters, but in their words, to protect, they were down there to protect black people. Now, if you don't know what the NFAC is, I'll read it to you here. It stands for the Not Effing Around Coalition. So, the Not Effing Around Coalition, NFAC, is an armed black nationalist militia. While it has been linked to the new Black Panther Party, it denies any connection to the Black Panther Party or Black Lives Matter. Its leader, John J. Fitzgerald Johnson, say that 5 times fast, known as Grand Master J, states that it is composed of ex-military shooters. Johnson, who was an independent candidate for U.S. President in 2016, stated that we are a black militia. We aren't protesters. We aren't demonstrators. We don't come to sing. We don't come to chant. That's not what we do. You could take a couple things from that statement. You could just take from that, they're not there to make a scene and do a whole lot other than to protect people. Or you could say that he's saying they're militia and maybe things are more aggressive. I don't know. Leave it up to you to decide. But anyway, that's the group that showed up in Louisville. Now, before we get into the details of what happened and did violence break out and all these questions you might have about it, I want to discuss something that bothered me from the news networks. So, the part that bothers me is, if you remember, not too long ago in Virginia, we had, a bunch of protesters that were armed. We'll call those protesters because that's what they were, all kind of grouped together, and people were very concerned in left-wing media saying it was going to break out into violence. They were very scared. They were making all these claims that all these right-wingers with guns were just, the scariest thing alive, and we needed to watch out for them. But the protest turned out to be extremely peaceful. The people were very polite. Nothing bad happened. It was all good. But there was a lot of, casting, fear on people from left-wing media. Meanwhile, you had right-wing media defending those protesters. That's their Second Amendment. They should be out here. They should be perfectly fine having their guns. They're allowed to defend themselves, yada, yada. Okay, now we come to this, the NFAC. Again, this is not everyone, but some groups on the left, media-wise, flipped into the opposite, didn't say anything at all and haven't touched on the subject, and when they haven't made hardly a big deal at all about any of the guns, if any deal. So apparently it doesn't matter when it's a group that's going down to deal with issues of police brutality and the murder of people who are black. Meanwhile, you have right-wing news groups, or group, I don't know, maybe just one or two, but doing the opposite of what they did before, taking kind of the left stance. Not to the same extreme, but still somewhat. And I have an issue with it because they come out and say that, there's concern for, people's safety. We're watching this with caution. And it's like, if whatever people are doing fits with the storyline and the narrative you want to put out, then by all means run the story. But if it disagrees with you, then you hold a different opinion, and they flip-flop. So that really bothered me about how it doesn't seem that people really care about the people having guns and whatnot. Anyway, I don't really care myself. It's a group of, same with the other protesters, it's a group of people, going down. They have their Second Amendment rights. They can have their firearms all they want. I'm more concerned with, what happened and what at least their leaders said, Grand Master J there, and what their goal was going down there. So first off, let's clear something up real quick. There were 3 people sent to the hospital after guns discharged. Now, I will show you a video clip of Grandmaster J explaining exactly, or kind of what happened. But essentially, it was a safety inspection on one of the guns done by one of the members of the militia, and I don't know if it was done improperly or what exactly happened with the safety inspection, but the gun went off and 3 people got injured from it. They're all alive. They're okay. But again, mishandling of a firearm. during safety inspection. Okay. So if you see something that says shooting in Louisville, just to clear it up, it was due to someone's negligence and improper handling of firearm, not someone running around shooting a bunch of people. Other than that, it was pretty peaceful. So let's get into what they talked about here. And first, I'm going to show you some clips here of what Grandmaster Jay said during an interview he had.
This is one problem. So this was the problem that we felt needed to be addressed. And we needed to address it because you ain't saying nothing. Don't take this the wrong way, but these canned responses that were written by a speechwriter, that's not keeping it real with us, as we say. We grown folks, we can handle the truth. So our goal was to come down and do the second part, because I told them, if I don't feel like you telling me the truth, or if you tell me something that's not going to satisfy what these people want, I'm going to bring my people in, just to emphasize that we really want the truth. And that's what today was. I'm delivering on my part of the bargain.
So let's stop it right there for just a second and look at the way that this Grandmaster Jay guy chose his words, because it's very important to look at what he's saying with regards to why they're down there and how they're handling things. So first off, he does mention their goal, and at least in part their goal of why they're there, and that is to, bring out the truth in what happened to Breonna Taylor, get justice for her. So, but the way he words that is very, very interesting, and I wanted to point out the words he chose and take a look. He echoes this sentiment multiple times. There's another time I'll read you here in a minute, but he says things like, if I don't feel like you're telling me the truth, or you tell me something that won't satisfy what these people want, he will bring in people to emphasize that we want the truth. Okay, the way that reads is that I'm not here for just any facts or whatever the truth is. That's not looking for the truth. That's what everyone should want, right? We should want a good investigation to be done. We should want the actual facts, real truth to come out of what happened, and then a decision be made based on the truth, whatever that may be. But here's what he said. He said, if I don't feel like you're telling me the truth, or you tell me something that won't satisfy the people, that's essentially saying if the truth isn't good enough for me or this group of people, there's going to be trouble. There's a problem. We're bringing people in to emphasize that we want a specific truth. And that's a very dangerous area to go in when you are trying to emphasize and demand that you want a specific thing and not just the truth in general. Now, maybe he chose his words poorly and that is not what he meant. But I do want to, it might tie into some of the words he said later, but we'll continue with the clip for now.
Clear that you want to see some action. It's been 4 months since Breonna Taylor was killed. How much time after today is it yet again not acceptable that we're not getting any answers?
Okay, so I need everybody to stop suffering from what we call quarantine amnesia. You see, everybody talks like the quarantine didn't happen, like it's been business as usual for 4 months. It has not. The whole world got terrified, ran in the house and closed the door, scared to breathe and cough. Nobody gave a damn about the judicial system. Everybody act like that didn't happen. We didn't come out of our cave until like the end of May sometime. Then we got to business, so really it hasn't been 4 months. It's been June and July. So even though the murder happened back then, we only were able to deal with it once we realized that we wasn't going to drop dead from COVID-19.
You said when you spoke to Cameron, did he tell you that it will take 4 additional months to recreate the scene for where Taylor was killed?
He said it would take 4 to 6 months additional from the time he received the case. And he received the case last week. And I told him that was unacceptable.
And also, too, did you tell him that, the 4-week deadline, that how we want, the investigation basically completed within the next 4 weeks?
Yes.
And what was his response?
He says as soon as I receive the case, I'll give it the emphasis that it deserves. And from everything that I've seen them doing, they busting their ass. I will say, I've watched. They busting their ass to get to the bottom. They've got so many things to reconstruct. That, for instance, the police report is blank. Like, I saw it, it's blank. Like, name nothing. Not redacted, blank. So now we got to go back and figure out what happened. Got to talk to some people. Got to go take some pictures. Got to try to figure out. Got to look at. Got to listen to some Ray. Got to rebuild this shit.
So there's the part where he's talking about, how long it's taken with regards to the investigation and the case progressing with Breonna Taylor. And it was interesting. He defends how long it's taken up to the point of, where it's been throughout the quarantine, because he explains that, the processes have been shut down due to the quarantine, but now that things are back open, it can pick back up. So he defends that. But when he talks to the Attorney General, who said it could take an additional 4 to 6 months, he, argues back that he wants it done in 4 weeks. And again, this is going to come into play later, but he, as of right now, in the video clips that you've seen, he's, defending the people doing the investigation, saying that it looks like they're busting their ass, trying to do their best job to get it done. He's not saying, that they're not trying now that it's in the right hands. And he does have some complaints about how some things have been handled. But so far, that part, seems rational. You don't want things to take forever in the justice system, but you also, can't rush things. You don't want justice mishandled. You want the appropriate sentences to be handed out, or whatever it may be. So we'll continue watching what he had to say.
Are you confident in 4 weeks you will get what you guys are asking for, which is, essentially justice charges? Are you confident in 4 weeks that can be delivered?
There's 2 answers. My opinion, based on what I've seen, is that they will do everything in their power at the AG level to try to send something back down that is action. Do I believe they can do it in 4 weeks when it normally takes 8 weeks? Well, let's just say I wouldn't want to be in their shoes if I didn't.
Okay, this is where I thought it started to get a little weird again. So he's asked if he thinks he's going to get what he's, advocating for in that 4-week time period. And it's an interesting response. So he says he has 2 answers to it. And his first one is that, in his opinion, the Attorney General and all them, they're working their butts off, and they're going to try to get, meet that request and get the answers back to them as soon as possible. And he thinks they're doing, a good job of that, really going to work hard. But then his other response, very weird, in that he said, do I believe they can do it in 4 weeks when it normally takes 8? So the first problem with that, at least to me, is that he at least knows this process normally takes 8 weeks, and he's trying to cut that in half. Again, like I said, you want to approach these sort of things with caution. You don't want to rush the justice system and come to a hasty conclusion and results that might be wrong and unjust. But you also don't want to, delay the process into a never-ending loop that you're never going to get any results and no one sees justice done. There's got to be some sort of balance. But if it normally takes 8 weeks, you should probably be shooting for something like that and not 4. I understand they want things done, but again, that's a lot of heavy pressure to put on. And the part that, again, bugs me after that is he throws in that little, I wouldn't want to be in their shoes if they didn't. Again, that's sort of, it's not a threat necessarily, but it's a very odd remark, similar to how he was saying, if we don't get the truth we want, we're going to bring in our people to emphasize that we want truth. It's like almost a show of force or a roundabout type of threat. It's a very weird thing. Here's a little more from Grandmaster Jay.
And just to be clear, you said that the Attorney General said that he just got all the documents from the mayor, correct? From Louisville, City of Louisville. told you that. Okay.
That is correct. As of last week, a week ago. Now, I'm not sure that they did that because we were talking to them or that more attention was coming. But at the end of the day, you all have to understand the man said he didn't have all the facts. And you all are beating him up. And y'all think he's ignoring you. No, he's waiting on them to give him all of the facts. But now you got to ask yourself, what happened to the facts? That's why the FBI had to come in like, hold on a minute. Where the facts at? And now all this tap dancing and everybody lawyering up, people quitting their jobs. Where the facts at? Because the fact of the matter is something crooked was done. And I'm not at liberty to go into the dirty details, but I will tell you this. When he comes back with what he's going to do, and the FBI comes back with what they need to do, all y'all gonna be surprised. Because I know I was. That's why you don't hear me saying, let's go arrest the police right now. I know some stuff. I need y'all to know it. Now, if they don't do what they're supposed to do based on what we know, they gonna have a problem then.
All right. So at the end there, he makes some claims that he knows something that we don't necessarily know, and then we're going to be surprised when we find out. Doesn't really give us any indication as to what that is, and doesn't cite any sources that came from, really, just that he talked to some people and knows some things. So maybe we'll find out more on the situation. Maybe he does know more that we don't know. Maybe he doesn't. But I wanted to get back here to one more thing he said that I don't actually have a clip of. So at one point when he's actually talking to a large group of people, and you might be able to find this on some of the news sites, but I didn't have a personal clip myself here. Says 4 weeks from today, we're going to come back here and we should have an answer. He got the group to then look at their watches and repeat an oath that if in 4 weeks they didn't, quote, get the truth, the whole truth, the mother expletive truth, we are going to burn this mother expletive down. Again, so I take that and I see the comments he made throughout, and there is a slight bit of worry, I guess you could say, with regards to the way he's phrasing things. And it was interesting that he said we deal in facts and not feelings. And I hope that is the part that's true. And, you know, he said he believes that they're working their butt off to get to the truth. And I really do hope that, you know, they're really just in search of what actually happened. You know, the results come out and it was an honest investigation. They feel everything was conducted properly and justice moves forward. But the part that's worrisome is, one, like I said, they're pushing for this to be done at an accelerated rate. Maybe, he said it normally takes 8. Maybe 8 is too slow. I don't know. I'm not involved in the criminal justice system. But all I know is he cut the normal time in half and was demanding it be done. And if not, they are going to be back and burn this mother down. So, again, if it's not the truth, if they don't feel like you're telling the truth, if it's not the truth that satisfies, and if it's not in this time period suggested, the people will be back to emphasize that they want the truth, and they will be back to burn this mother down. So, that is what happened in Louisville with the NFAC this weekend. Again, it was very peaceful other than the accidental shooting. So, wasn't full-on violence like some people might have suggested that a civil war was going to break out between them and other protesters. But also at the same time, I would say that some of the comments he made were very odd and maybe even could be considered worrisome. Now, I don't want to put meaning or change the words that, you know, he put out. He might have meant something else by them. I don't know. I can only comment on what I heard and what that sounds like to me. And again, people don't always say what they mean. sometimes people use the wrong words, but also too, sometimes people imply meaning. And you can watch the video clips for yourself. He made certain facial expressions. He did certain things and said things in certain ways. You can be the judge of that if it was weird or not. I just thought it was worth pointing out the way he was choosing his words. But that is pretty much it for now. Again, we'll have to see how the Breonna Taylor case goes to see if they were to follow up on any of this, or if it's mostly talk. I don't know. We'll see. But that does it for this segment. I thank you guys for tuning in. If you like the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe. You'll get notified when we come out with new news and whatnot. And we will see you guys in the next one. You guys have a good one.